As you can see by my beautiful surroundings, I'm in Santa Monica, California today. Model Behaviors has had the opportunity to sit down with Craig Borten, renowned screenwriter who wrote the Dallas Buyers Club, to talk about screenwriting and how long, hard work does pay off in the end.
It wasn't until after college I moved out here and I was working in just different odds and ends jobs and got into a theater group and was doing some writing and wrote something with a friend, and it just kind of trailed off from there.
You're really inspired by real life events.
I like true life stories for a couple of reasons. If it works, it's usually ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances, and then from those comes character. So it's like, what do we do when we're faced with our biggest challenges? And the decisions we make within being faced by our biggest challenges are what kind of how we evolve as people.
Have you met anyone that's inspired you to write about an event versus like the event inspiring you? Has a character inspired you?
That's interesting. I don't know. Not recently. There's just so many great stories out there. People have been sending me someone just sent me something about the 6 days of the LA riots, or I don't know, I'm reading a noir novel that I think is fantastic. And there's just so much.
How did you get started with Dallas Buyers Club?
An ex-girlfriend of mine sent me an article. She was in London and she sent me an article in The Independent. She actually just wrote on it, I think this would be an interesting play. And so I wrote some letters to Ron Woodruff, who the film's based on. At the time I was trying to get an agent, so you would call agents after the assistants left and hope they answer the phone. So I called him at 7 o'clock and he answered, and he was like, oh, if you can be here tomorrow, you can interview me.
Wow.
And so I got in my car and drove to Dallas. He said, Craig, I think there should be a film made about my life. And I said, so do I, why do you?
Yeah.
And he said, because I think people should ask questions. He's just so interesting because I think when people are near death, they're a little more effusive with their feelings, and they're able to draw upon a deeper well because they're not necessarily in their life. They're kind of looking back and looking forward, what was, what could have been, and so they're a lot more forthcoming about life and death and love. And really, he didn't start living until he started the Dallas Buyers Club, because it like enabled him to feel important and to feel like he was helping people, and he also was making a living. And so I think that was like a really rich time in his life. So I just was incredibly inspired by him.
Now, do you feel like any of his life mirrors your own?
I drawed upon his well when I was going through some of my own challenges and my own struggles, personally, professionally. And yeah, I just found him incredibly inspiring. He just didn't take no for an answer.
Well, you were told no a lot with the screenplay initially, right?
Yeah, everyone would just say, you'll never get this film made.
And this was your first
First thing I
screenplay.
ever found and wrote.
So what do you find most difficult about your profession?
Everything. First of all, you're trying to find an original story. That's great. And then you have to convince other people that it's great. And then they have to convince other people that it's great. And then they have to buy it. And then you have to negotiate how they're going to buy it, what they're going to pay. Then you have to actually now write it, and it has to be great. And then it's great, and then you have to get a director to love it, an actor to like it, a budget that works, a marketing department that thinks it should be made. The next hurdle is getting it made and everyone's schedules, and then it gets made, and then it has to be released correctly. The whole thing was 20 years from like the moment I met Ron Woodruff to shooting the script. So
that is incredible.
Yeah. Everyone has their own personal journey. This one was mine, and it was perfect. When I look back at why it took what it took as a film, and also for me to learn how to write as a writer, and just everything that I learned during that journey, it was just perfect.
So how do you feel now after the movie? Do you feel like the same person? Do you feel different? Are things easier for you?
Professionally, it's night and day, but I don't feel much different. I probably have a little more confidence.
Now, I really liked how you said that you really prefer to work in a clean environment. I think that every writer has their own process. How does writing in a clean area really help your creativity?
I just realized that I enjoy I don't like a lot of clutter, and kind of to keep my mind free and nothing to kind of distract it. Like you can kind of go out into the world and take in humanity or art or whatever it is that you're taking in, life experience, and then kind of come in here and distill it all down, but with no distractions. I just like a lot of light and white. It just kind of happened like that.
The two hardest things for me are endings. Like, I can just keep going in different directions and never stop. How do you end? And what is the most important part of your editing process?
The thing about writing is everybody thinks, oh, you sit down and then the inspiration comes. And I think it's like a day and night thing. You're constantly, as a writer, stuck inside your head a little bit, and you're constantly studying human nature. You're constantly stealing from things that you hear or see or read. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you're consuming so many things, and then after a while, I think it kind of relents or it yields itself to you, and it just kind of, a lot of times I'll wake up with ideas. That's really comes. Either wake up early in the morning with the ideas or late at night. And then I'll just kind of spin them over in my head for days and days and days. And then the editing process is really the most important thing, because the editing is where all the magic happens.
What would you recommend to someone out there that maybe they live in LA, maybe they work at Starbucks and they have a script and they want to be in your place. They want to see that script be actualized. They want to see those actors read their words. What would you say to them?
I just tell everyone to follow their heart. It sounds cliche, but I always tell people to follow their heart, believe in their ideas, work really hard, and just keep writing.
Thank you so much for your time today, and even doing this interview means so much to us.
Thanks for asking. I feel honored.